Dear students, the last class we have studied about the moment of inertia of rigid bodies. A rigid body is not capable of changing its state of rotation or the state of rest by itself. This inability is called the rotational inertia that we measured in terms of moment of inertia. For a single particle, we have the moment of inertia I equal to m into r square. M is the mass of the particle and r is the distance of the particle from the axis of rotation. And we have considered the rigid body as a system of particles. So for the moment of inertia of a rigid body is the sum of the moment of inertia of the individual particles. That is, capital I is equal to sigma mi ri square. I can have the values from 1 to n. And we have studied the two theorems which help us to find the moment of inertia of rigid bodies. Parallel axis theorem and perpendicular axis theorem. And also we have learned the sum of the moment of inertia of some of the rigid bodies. So from the Newton's second law, from the Newton's first law, we have seen that a body which is either in rest or in a state of uniform motion along a straight line are not capable of changing its state of rest or the state of uniform motion. That means a force is required to change its state of rest or the state of uniform motion along a straight line. Similarly, for a rigid body, when it is in a state of rest or the state of uniform rotation about a given axis, we have to apply force. But for the rotation of rigid body, the force is not only the one parameter. We have to consider about the point where we are applying the force. For example, if you want to turn a door, we can apply the force. Let us see the two conditions. When we apply the force at the edge of the door, that is the farthest point from the axis of that is the hinges, and from the axis of the door, then we are experiencing that it is very easy. But at the same time, when we apply the same force at a point very near to the axis of the rotation of the door, that means very near to the hinges, we feel that it is very difficult. That means to rotate the door, it is very easy when we apply the force at the farthest point from the axis of rotation. That means the turning effect, the rotating effect of the door is more when we apply the force at the largest point. Okay. Also, the turning effect or the rotating effect of the force depends on the angle at which the force is acting. So again, considering the example of the door, when we apply the force perpendicular to the surface of the door, then we experiencing that it is very easy. But at the same time, when we apply the force parallel to the surface of the door, then we can see that the door is not at all rotating. That means the angle at which the force is acting is also important, and it is also a factor of the turning effect of the door. Okay, that means in short, we can conclude that the rotating effect or the turning effect of the force on a rigid body, it depends on the three factors. One is the magnitude of the force. Second one is the distance. The distance from the distance of the application of the force from the axis of rotation, and the angle at which the force is acting. And all these three factors come together, and we combine. There is a single term, so that is we define as the torque. Okay, the torque is the turning effect or the rotating effect of the rigid body. So, when we consider the rotation of rigid body, we talk about the torque. So, to rotate a body, we have to apply torque. The torque includes the three factors which we have mentioned earlier. Let us see. So, we can express the torque, or we can define the torque as the product of force and the perpendicular distance r between the line of action of the force and the axis of rotation. So, in the figure you can see this is a rigid body which is capable of rotating about this point O. So, we apply the force F in this direction, and R is the perpendicular distance between the line of action of the force and the axis of rotation. In that case, we can have the torque is R cross F or R into F. Okay. Since here the force is acting in a perpendicular direction, we can have torque is equal to R into F. But if the force is acting at a given angle, then we can have the torque tau is equal to R sin theta. The perpendicular distance, the component of the distance perpendicular to the line of action, that is equal to, that will become R sin theta into F, that is equal to RF sin theta. Okay. If it is perpendicular direction, then we have R into F. If there is an angle at which the force is acting, then we can have R into F sin theta. Okay. So, this is the measurement of the torque. Okay. Yeah, we should remember that in rotational motion, the torque has the same role as the force in the linear motion. So, what is the force doing in the linear motion? When we apply the force, we can change the state of rest or the state of uniform motion. That means we can make the acceleration on the body by applying the force. Similarly, during the rotation, when we apply the torque, we can change the state of rotation or the state of rest. At the same time, when there is a change in rotation, means we are introducing an acceleration. That is, here acceleration is called the angular acceleration. So, the torque gives the angular acceleration for the rotating body. And what about the unit? The unit of torque is, since it is R into F, the unit of torque is Newton meter. Okay. Now we are going to derive a relation between the torque and the angular acceleration. As we know, the torque is the rotational equivalent of force. That means the torque has the same role in rotational motion as the force in the linear motion. Okay. And we know when we apply the torque, its angular velocity changes, so it introduces an angular acceleration. So, we know tau is equal to F into R. tau is equal to F into R or R into F. So from the Newton's second law of motion, we have F is equal to ma. We have F is equal to ma. So torque tau is equal to ma into R. Okay. The relation between the linear acceleration and angular acceleration is given by, we know, A is equal to R into alpha. Okay. So we can have torque again. Torque tau is equal to m into R. M into, instead of A we have R into alpha. Again we have one more R. So torque tau is equal to m R square alpha. Torque tau is equal to m R square alpha. Okay. But we know what is m into R square. The m into R square is the moment of inertia. So I is equal to m R square. Therefore again the torque can be expressed as tau is equal to I into alpha. So this is the relation between the torque and angular acceleration. We know this is similar to the equation in the linear motion, that is F is equal to mass into acceleration. Here F is torque tau and F, that both are the similar quantity. Similarly, linear acceleration and angular acceleration, and also we have the moment of inertia, the mass and the moment of inertia. So there is a similarity of the quantities or the expressions in the linear motion and rotational motion. Now let us consider some of the practical situations, and let us explain on the basis of the torque. The first one, that is, if the force is applied parallel to the surface of the door, it will not open. Okay, that means when we apply the force, in a direction parallel to the surface, then we know the torque tau is equal to R into F sin theta. Okay, if theta is equal to 0, then sin 0 is equal to 0 or torque tau is equal to 0. That means when we apply the force parallel to the surface of the door, the door does not move. It does not open. That means there is no rotating effect, there is no turning effect. Okay. The second one, if the force is applied perpendicular to the plane of the door, it will open. So again we have, when it is applied perpendicular to the perpendicular to the plane of the door, then theta is equal to 90 degree. Then torque tau is equal to R into F. That torque will be maximum and the turning effect will be maximum, and it is very easy to open the door. Then third one, to unscrew a nut using a spanner, the force is applied at the other end of the spanner. Okay, here that is a real situation that we have sometimes experiencing, and when we using a spanner, here the force is applied at the other end of the spanner. Why? Because here when we apply the spanner at the other end, that means there is the R will be increasing. The distance from the axis to the line of action of the force, the R will increase. So the torque is also increasing. The torque is also increasing means it is the turning effect increasing, and it is very easy to open. It is very easy to unscrew the nut. Okay. That fourth one, a wheel capable of rotation about its axis can rotate easily if the force is applied at the rim rather than at a point near the axis of rotation. Here also, when we apply the force near the axis of rotation, the R is minimum. But when we apply the force at the rim, then we can the R is maximum, then the toe will be increasing. The toe is maximum. That is very easy to rotate the wheel. Okay. So these are some of the practical situations that we can explain on the basis of the torque, concept of torque. Then in the linear motion, we have an idea about the linear momentum. Linear momentum is a given idea about how much a moving object can make an impact. Okay, and it is defined as on the basis of the product of the mass and velocity. Similarly, when a rigid body is under the rotation, suppose a rigid body is rotating about a given axis and with an angular velocity omega, then this rigid body also have the same concept about the rotating impact. Okay, and it is defined as in the case of linear momentum, there is also the term angular momentum. Okay, this angular momentum can be defined as the product of the moment of inertia and the angular velocity. Okay, we know in the linear motion we have momentum P is equal to mass into velocity. Okay, similarly in the rotational motion, the angular momentum is defined as the product of moment of inertia and angular velocity. Okay, so the unit of angular momentum is, that is, joule second, or when we express in the fundamental units, that is kilogram meter square per second. It is equal to kilogram meter square per second, or it is same as the joule second. The angular momentum, as we have stated earlier, the angular momentum has the same role as the linear momentum in the linear motion. Okay, and also we can express the moment of inertia. We can express the torque. You know, F is equal to m into A from the Newton's second law, and we are also expressing directly from the statement of Newton's second law, that is equal to dP by dt, the rate of change of momentum of a body is equal to the force. So this is the differential form of the force. Okay. Similarly, we can also have the expression, we know that torque tau is equal to I alpha. Okay. Similarly, we can express tau is equal to dl by dt. dl by dt. This is the differential form of the torque. The rate of change of angular momentum is directly proportional to the torque, or it is equal to the torque. Okay. So from the similarity between the linear motion and the rotational motion, we can also express the tau is equal to dl by dt, the rate of change of angular momentum. Okay. Now let us consider the conservation of angular momentum. Okay. We have the linear motion. We have the conservation of linear momentum. Okay, that is, if there is no external forces acting on a system, the total momentum before the collision equal to the total momentum after the collision. Similarly, we have there is a law, that is the conservation of angular momentum. Okay. Instead of a force, here we considering the torque, and instead of linear momentum, we have the angular momentum. Okay, let us try to state the conservation of angular momentum similar to that happened in the linear motion. The students, you can try to say about this, the conservation of angular momentum. Okay. So the principle of conservation of angular momentum states that if no external torque acts on a system, if no external torque acts on a system, the total angular momentum of the system remains constant. Okay, the total angular momentum of the system remains constant. So let us say let I is the moment of inertia and omega is the angular velocity of a rotating body. Then we can express L is equal to I omega. That is L is equal to I omega equal to a constant. That is the law of conservation of angular momentum. L is equal to I omega equal to a constant. Okay. So let us have some examples. So you can see a man is sitting on a turning table and he is rotating about this axis with an angular velocity omega 1. Okay. So in the first figure, you can see the man stretches his hands with the two dumbbells, and when he keeps that position, he has some moment of inertia that is denoted by I1. Okay. So what happened when we after some time, then he keep his arms close to the chest of his body. Okay. So can you say what will happen to the moment of inertia and the angular velocity? Are they same in the previous? Are the same as in the previous case? Or can you expect any change in the values of angular velocity and the moment of inertia? Yeah, that's it. There is a change because when the man keeps his hands close to his body, obviously the moment of inertia changes. Okay, because the distribution of the particles here, in the previous case, his arms are in the stretched position. Now his arms are very close to the body, so there is a change in moment of inertia. Since there is no external torque is acting on that man, so according to the law of conservation of angular momentum, his in two situations, the angular momentum should be the same. If there is a change in if there is a change in a moment of inertia, then there should be a change in angular velocity according to the law of conservation of momentum. That is, I into omega should be a constant. So if there is a change in I, then omega should also change in such a way that the angular momentum I into omega should be a constant. So since I decreases in the second case, so obviously the angular velocity should increase so that I omega should be a constant. Okay. So I1 omega 1 should be equal to I2 omega 2. That is, if there is no external torque is acting. That is the conservation of angular momentum. Okay. So obviously his spinning speed, the rotational speed will increase. And this is also you can see in this example also. When a swimmer, when he try to dive from when he start his diving to the water with the jumping from the springboard, what will happen when we start see his jumping? When he after 2 or 3 seconds, we can see that after the jumping, he tries to close the arms and the legs very close to the body. So in that situation, what will happen? The moment of inertia, when he reaches this position, the moment of inertia decreases. So then naturally, the moment of inertia of the body will increase. That means he can make the more number of turns. Okay, so he can make the more number of turns. Then when he come to the surface of the water, just before the touching the water, he try to stretch his arms and legs so that his moment of inertia increases. So his angular velocity decreases. So when the angular velocity decreases, he can make a safe diving into the water. Okay, and this is also the same case when we consider a ballet dancer. Okay, when a ballet dancer is making rotations, so when he during the rotation, he can increase or decrease the rotation speed. Okay, by changing uh, by changing the stretching behavior, the stretching pattern of his arms and legs. When he rotate, he can increase the spinning speed by keeping all his the arms and legs very close to the body. Okay, so when he stretches his arms and legs, what will happen? The moment of inertia increases, and correspondingly, the angular velocity decreases. His spinning speed decreases. Okay, so in that way, there is in some under this situation also you can see in the case of ice skater. Okay, the performance on the ice surface, this also can be utilized. Okay, by stretching the arms and legs of a ice skater, you can see the rotational speed can be decreased, and when he keeps the arms and legs close to the body, then the moment of inertia or the rotating speed can be increased. Okay, there is sometimes they look into the different situations. So if the ice on the polar caps of the earth melts, how will it affect the duration of the day? Can you say? If the ice on the polar caps of the earth melts, how will it affect the duration of the day? Okay. So what will happen? Now the ice is at the solid form, which have at different positions. Okay. So it has a particular moment of inertia for the earth. What will happen if the ice melts? If the ice melts, it will become water. Then it is in the liquid form. It will flow through the surface of the water, and there is a considerable change in the moment of inertia of the earth. If the moment of inertia of the earth changes, so according to the law of conservation of momentum, L is equal to I omega equal to a constant. Okay, if there is no external torque acting. Okay, so during the rotation of the earth, there is no external torque is acting. Okay, in that case, if there is a change in I, there should be a corresponding change in omega. If the moment of inertia increases, then the angular velocity of the rotation of the earth is decreases. Okay, we know what is the relation between the angular velocity and the time period that is omega is equal to 2 pi by t. T is the period. If omega decreases, what will happen to the t? The t increases. T increases means the period of rotation of the earth increases. That means the duration of the day increases. Okay. Now we have the next one. If the earth were suddenly shrunk to half of its radius, what happens to the duration of the day? If the earth were suddenly shrunk to half of its radius, what happens to the duration of the day? Okay, we know I is equal to mr square. Okay, generally we have the I is equal to mr square. If the radius of the earth is reduced to half of its the present radius, that means the moment of inertia decreases. Okay, if the moment of inertia decreases, what will happen to the angular velocity? angular velocity is increases. If angular velocity increases, what happens to the t? The t decreases. It is that duration of the day decreases. Okay, you can calculate by using the formula for the I, because we can consider Earth as a solid sphere. Okay, you can consider Earth as a solid sphere. So by substituting the expression for the moment of inertia for a solid sphere, we can have what is the change happen in the moment of inertia when its radius is reduced to half of its the present value. Then we can have a new value of omega. From that you can calculate what happened to the time period. Okay, whether it is 24 hours, then obviously the time period decreases. How much the time period decreases, that you can calculate. When a diver jumps into a water from a height, he does not keep his body straight but pulls in his arms and legs towards the center of the body, so that he can make the increasing angular velocity, and he can make the more number of turns before he dives into the water. Okay, that we have explained. Now there is a comparison between linear motion and rotational motion. So in the linear motion, we have the linear displacement. Okay, correspondingly we have rotational motion, we have the angular displacement theta. And the second time there is a linear velocity. For the rotational, we have angular velocity omega. We have a linear acceleration. For the rotation, we have angular acceleration alpha. And we have the mass when we consider the linear motion. But for the rotational motion, we consider the moment of inertia. Here, moment of inertia is equal to mr square. What about the linear momentum? The linear momentum P is equal to mass into velocity. Similarly, in the rotational motion, angular momentum L is equal to I into omega. And the force F is equal to m into a. The analogous of the force in the rotational motion is torque. Here torque tau is equal to I into alpha. Okay, so we can see almost for all the terms in the linear motion, we have a corresponding terms in the rotational motion, and also we have the corresponding expressions in the rotational motion, and all the concepts are almost similar. Okay, so when we deal with the rotational motion, it is very easy to understand, and it is very easy to write the expressions, the corresponding expressions in the rotational motion.